You will, right? Because when I look at your expressions alone, I can see the excitement of coming back home. I know you are all very happy to be here. But for me, I don't think you are. Because the energies in here today cannot convince me that anyone here is happy. I know you guys will be wondering, who is this man to tell me I'm not happy? Whilst I know I am. Maybe a question for me will solve this puzzle. Are you ready for the question? When you guys read in history that your own brothers and sisters from the African continent were among those group of people that sold your forebears into slavery, how did that make you feel? Mad? Mad?
Bad and mad.
You see, it's certainly not a good feeling, right?
That's correct.
So I am right when I said any one of you here is not loving it here. Because this part of you has not been healed. That is why when I asked these questions, you never thought about it. You just gave those answers. Because that pain is deeply rooted inside you. You might think you love it, but that pain is still in you. Look, you are the most diplomatic group I have met this morning. Because whenever I ask these questions, you can't imagine the adjectives that your brothers and sisters use to describe their pains. Some even fall flat and they start crying for knowing that their own people gave them away. Some of them even attack me personally for asking that question. Because for them, that pain is so much that they can't hold on to the pain. So they unleash all the pains on me. But whenever I am done with my presentations, they mostly come back to me and they apologize for whatever they said to me. But I always tell them, why do you have to say sorry to me? No, because I have never been in your shoes. So I wouldn't understand you better. But maybe if I have been in your shoes, I would have even done worse. So because of this, I have always remained at the side of the diaspora than the side of the continental Africans. You know why? Because there's no way you will allow me to go if you really love me. If you love me, you don't let me go. You stay with me. So in all my life, I always say, why did the continental Africans allow their people to go? So I never felt any pains. Not until I came across a research that was conducted. And the findings of this research stated that the pains felt by our forebears, that same pains could be felt in us. So when I read about that pain, I started searching to understand what that pain is. Because that pain is what I share with you. So if I don't understand that pain, how can I relate to you? So I locked myself in a room, praying for clarity, to understand the pain that I share with you. I had so many clarities, but this clarity connected me to read a book. And the title of this book was The Transatlantic Slave Trade, Landmark, Legacies and Expectations by Professor J.E.K. Akwanda. Now in that book, the professor made a very interesting revelation about the trade. He stated that 1% of the indigenous Africans, 1% of us supported the trade. 99% of us fought against the trade. But today, the 99% of us are being blamed for the pains that was caused by the 1%. Look, I see you as a sister. I want to speak to you, but I'm scared of how you're going to respond to me. Likewise, you also see me as your son, but the history around me does not even allow you to even trust me. And people with the same complexion, yes, still, we can't come together as one people. But this morning, all that I wanted you to know, if you really want to understand this journey that you have embarked on, then you first need to understand our pain. If the diaspora don't understand the pains of the continental Africans like us, then you don't need to come back here. We don't need you. You can go to wherever you think you belong. Then somebody said, Kofi, you making me confused because you sold us. So why should we understand your pain before coming back home? And I said, I am going to put our pains in two scenarios. You are to choose one and tell me why you will go for it. Look, you lost your husband whilst you were very younger. Your husband left you with a beautiful daughter. On a sick bed, he called you over and said, sweetheart, I don't think I can survive this. But all that I want you to do for me is to take good care of our daughter. Few hours, your husband passed on and you were left with your daughter. As a mother, you had so many dreams. But you brought all your dreams somewhere because you have to take care of your daughter. You sometimes have to starve just to put food on the table. No money for rent. So you stayed in the shelter. But you tried your possible best to give everything to your daughter. God is so good. Your daughter grew up to become a very smart and intelligent child. Everyone in your neighborhood was envious of your daughter. Some call her future president. Some call her governor because they knew from onset she was an asset. So one day, in the morning whilst you were warming your soul food, your daughter came to you and said, Mommy, I have a surprise to share with you. I am representing my state in a quiz competition. The whole state, I am representing my state. You look at your daughter and you start sharing tears, knowing how far you've come. And while she was leaving, you hold her hand and said, daughter, come to me. And you said, daughter, I want you to come back as the winner. I want your daddy's name to be mentioned across America. This is the day to make daddy proud. So you give her a kiss on the forehead and she left for the event. Whilst you're in your home cooking, you heard a knock on the door. Your daughter have a special way of. So whilst you are in the work cooking, you put on a television and you saw your daughter right there up. And all questions that was answered, she answered all questions to perfection. At the end of the event, she was the winner. How would you feel as a mother?
Proud.
So proud, so proud. And you know, sometimes mothers can be a little dramatic. So you invited your nieces, your nephews, to come and celebrate with you. You did all the barbecue, awaited the return of your daughter. So a few hours, you had a knock on the door. Your daughter have a special way of knocking. So immediately you knew that knock, you knew your daughter was back home. So you run to open the door to welcome your daughter. And once you run to open the door to welcome your daughter, to your surprise, somebody presented to you the dead body of your daughter. That your daughter who just left, she is dead. And this is a body. How do you feel then? I know.
Devastated.
Yeah. And I don't want to even ask you why. And the second scenario is when your daughter went to that same place. This time, she never came back. And you as a mother, you never saw your daughter again. The first is closure because you had the body. And the second one is you don't know. The two, which one would you go for? Those that go with closure. Let me see my hands. Closure. Those that go with not knowing. Let me see my hands. And those that are confused, just like me. Let me see their hands.
Regardless if God would happen.
You see, I've already had a survey on this topic. 37 sample sizes. 86% of my respondents, they all went for closure. According to them, they can't stay a day of not knowing where their loved ones are. The prolonged aches and pains of not knowing, they can bear them. But when they have the body, it is very painful, yes, but at least they know where they kept the body. They could always visit the gravesite, and they could always offer some flowers because they know where they kept the energies. And I said, so if the 86% of us are going for closure because of the pains of not knowing, then my question to you, have you guys really thought about the 99% continental Africans? Those Africans that have their brothers and sisters injured, stolen, and taken away from us? Nobody brought to us your dead bodies. For us living on this continent to also have our closure. We have been through these pains of not knowing for over 500 years now. Families that you were stolen from have never known peace. I come from one of such families that many of our ancestors were stolen. I know their names. I have never met them. And do you know what is more painful? What is more painful is what I'm seeing today. Because maybe you even come directly from my family line. We are very close, yet very far. It has been 500 years now. And we in this continent are also looking for our closure. So my question to you is, how do myself and my brother in here, how do we also get our closure? The only time we get our closure is a day today. For you to have made it back home. So you're coming here today. You are giving closure to millions of your forebears who never even believed that there would ever be a day today that their children would ever represent on this land. You're coming home today. You are giving peace to this land. Because once upon a time, the land was so confused that she couldn't even account for the number of her own children. And you're coming home today. You are giving closure to my son and to my sister. So you see, your journey here today, it is a spiritual journey. You have never planned to be here. No. It has already been planned for you to be here. And that is why I keep telling you that the best thing you can do to yourself today is to unlearn before you learn. Because many of what you know are never your story. Never tour this land as a tourist. You're never a tourist. You are a local just like me. So tour this land as a local and do whatever the locals does. Whilst I was coming to work this morning, I came across a famous quote of Marcus Mosiah Garvey Jr. And this man once said, people without the knowledge of your past history, origin, and culture, you were just like a tree without a root. Now the Emperor Haile Selassie also said that an awareness of our past is essential to the establishment of our personality and identity as Africans. So when I read these two quotes, I became very confused. Because all the quotes was talking about Africa. So the question is, if they are all talking about Africa, then who among us here is an African? Who is an African? Because today, when you go to the West Indies, you have people that look like us, that prefer to be called Jamaicans, Guyanese, Barbados, and the list goes on. When you go to the South American countries, you still meet people like us, calling themselves Brazilians, Colombians, and you know them. But if you want to be more confused, just go to the US of A.
That's right.
In the US of A, you meet people like us. that prefer to be called Black Americans, but not African Americans.
Yeah, we did.
So if that is the case, then who among us is an African? That was why a famous reggae musician, in the person of Peter Tosh, said it so beautifully. He said, don't matter the nationality. As long as you are a black man or a black woman, you are an African. Now when this man said that, the Caucasians use all conspiracy theories to debunk the claim that we are Africans based on complexion. But the first president of Ghana, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, he brought that debate to an end. Because Kwame Nkrumah always believed that there is one thing that I share with you, and I share with all of you here. And do you know what that is? The African DNA. So Kwame Nkrumah said, not because you are born in Africa, that makes you an African. We are African because African is born in us. That is why today you have traveled for over 10,000 miles with all the risks involved. Your president is manipulating the space to kill so many of you. But you guys were not scared because the energy that pulls you to come back is so stronger than the energy that tells you to go back. So you made a bold decision to come back, and they call you stubborn. When you were coming back, you were so excited. So you told your friends, I am going to Ghana. But some of your friends also told you, what are you going to do there? There's nothing in there. Don't go. They discouraged you from coming. But you decided to come. And today, you are right here. Now that you've come over, you're going to see the changes. And when you go back, those same friends that told you not to come are those same friends that will come to you. And they'll look at you. And they'll say, sis, you are glowing. You are shining. There is something about you, they can't figure it out. But whilst they will be celebrating with you, remember, the Caucasians will fight you. Because whatever you have invested in is what they don't want you to achieve.
Exactly.
Because our history is what they termed as a critical race theory.
Yeah.
They said it is racist for us to know about our own selves. But if I don't know where I am coming from,
You don't know where you're going.
like the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, this man even stated that we know ourselves is going to create this unity and this light. Do I care?
No.
I don't care. But for me, but for me, I believe that knowing myself would instead make me a better man. So when I visited the US of A, this was my observation. I saw the Chinese writing their own script. I saw the Indians writing their own script. But the question is, why is it that when we Africans is attempt to write our story, the Caucasian would always want to have a way in what to write?
That's right. It would be this thing.
Is it because they are scared?
Yes, I know it is.
They are scared of everything. So when I came back to Ghana, I decided to tell the world about the truth, the myth, and the lies about the slave trade. You see, before the coming of the Europeans to Africa, yeah. Before the coming of the Europeans to Africa, Africans lived in unison. We lived in peace, and we lived in love. Although there exists among us, although there lives among us all spirit conceivables, we have the good ones, we have the bad ones. We were never perfect as a people, but at least we were excellent. Now we find ourselves in an era in Africa called the acquisition era. Chester, we have an era in Africa called the acquisition era. That era in Africa was the era of great migrations. Look, Africa was not a country. It was a continent of over 3,000 tribes and 7,500 languages. So at that point in time, tribes keep migrating from one point to the other in search of a place of settlement. Some were very fortunate that they had free land for themselves. Those that had the land for themselves, they stayed on that land without any difficulties. But those that never had the land, what do they have to do? They have to fight in order to get a place to stay. They have to fight in order to get a place to stay. So because of this in Ghana, there were so many tribal wars on our country. In Ghana, the Fantis fought the Ashantis. The Akwamus fought the Achims. So we fought among ourselves to expand our territories and to consolidate our gains. Now when I fight you and I win over you, it was assumed that everything in your community, including yourself, becomes mine. But that assumption was totally not correct. Because we Africans believe that conflict among us is inevitable. And that is why we have this adage that the teeth and the tongue would always fight. But at the end of the day, do they come out from the mouth? No. They still stay inside the mouth. Which means I can fight my sister in the morning. I can fight you in the afternoon. But you'll be surprised to see us in the evening. Holding our hands, jumping as if nothing has happened. Look, our ancestors were not daft. Because they understood the politics then. Because if I have defeated this group, and I don't have a way of bringing you together, do you think I can rule in peace? No. I'll be scared that someday you might fight back, and I would also end up like